fine. Alright, what we're going to do today is we're going to fabricate or debone a whole chicken. There are several ways that you can debone these. The way that I'm going to show you is the way I want it done for my class. You may go out to work and find that your employer wants you to do it a different way, but while you are here, this is how you're going to do it for me. This is how we get the most use out of our product. Taking a look at our boning knife, we cannot hold this the same way that we do our French knife. We kind of have to move our hand back on this handle a little bit. We're still going to pinch it in between our index finger and our thumb. When cutting, we are only going to use the top 1/3 of the knife, known as the tip or the point. If you are using the entire blade, you are going to leave meat behind on the carcass, and thus I will be losing money. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're only using the front portion of the knife. When we are deboning the chicken, we are going to be breaking this down into 7 parts. We're going to have our 2 wings, the 2 breasts, and the 2 legs. Then the back part is going to be the remainder, which we use to make our chicken stock, which is then turned into our soups and sauces. Okay? When you are deboning your chicken, you always want to start out with the legs facing away from you, and you want the chicken on its belly, like I'm demonstrating here. If you are right-handed, you're always going to cut off the left-hand side of the chicken, making sure that you're using your holding hand to pull the meat or the limbs away from the carcass. To cut off the wings, we cut off the wings first, then we cut off the breast, then we cut off the legs. To do the wings, again, put it on its belly, legs facing away from you. I am going to hold my knife in the proper position, and again, small strokes. I want to cut through the back of the chicken here until I get through the armpit. Once you get into the armpit, you're going to see the ball of the shoulder becoming exposed. When you see that, you no longer want to cut straight down. You want to cut at an angle, putting your knife outward away from the chicken. Again, small strokes. I am not using the entire blade. This is what the ball of the chicken shoulder should look like, of the chicken wing. You do not want to just cut straight down. There's a big chunk of meat right here. If I were to just cut straight down, I'm going to lose that. Okay, so I've cut off the first wing. Now I need to turn the chicken around to, again, always cut off the left side. If you're left-handed, you're going to cut off the right side. Again, through the back of the chicken, where the armpit is, I'm pulling this chicken across the cutting board. You know, I want to put some pressure on this so that the meat, the wing moves away from the body. Again, now I start to see the ball of the shoulder become exposed. I'm going to angle my knife, making small strokes until this comes off. Okay, there are my 2 wings. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip the chicken over. Our legs at this point are going to be facing us. I'm going to trim this little bit of skin in between the breast and the legs. It's just a very light cut right here. And then I'm going to bend the legs backwards so that the hip pops out. Okay? This is going to make your job a lot easier, not only cutting off the breast, but taking the legs off as well. Now, again, the legs are going to be facing away from me. We can, at this point, remove the skin. Most of the time, the skin is going to be removed off of the breasts. Very rarely will we leave it on. Okay? Whenever we're taking the breast meat off, there is a bone that runs down the center here. This is the breastbone. We need to cut on both sides of it. You cannot cut through the bone. You need to stay right along both sides. Okay? When you get up here near the top, we're going to have the wishbone, or it might be your collarbone. That is going to be our guide. So we're essentially going to make 2 cuts down both sides, coming, trailing off, and heading down to the cutting board. Okay? Again, if you're right-handed, you're cutting off the left-hand side. Using just the tip of the knife, making small cuts. I am angling my knife inward just a little bit so that the knife is scraping against that breastbone or the chest bone. Okay? Up here at the top, and this one was already broken, the wishbone, I need to, again, find that and follow it. Okay? Once I get through the initial part, you're going to get your thumb in there and kind of pull the meat back gently, just enough that you can see where the bone is. Okay? Right here is the start of the rib bones where the tip of my knife is. You're going to be scraping against those. If you need to turn your knife around to make your job a little bit easier, please do so. So when I was cutting, I had my knife straight up and down, but it was angled slightly inward so that I could get all of this meat off the bone. Okay? Now that I'm down to here, notice this hole. This is the cartilage that's at the base of the ribs. I do not want to continue to cut through that or the ribs will stay attached to the carcass. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to angle my knife. It was straight up and down. Now I'm angling it to follow the rib cage. Again, if you need to, turn your knife around. If you do this properly, you should be able to see the outline of the rib bones. You do not want to leave meat attached to this. Okay? Now I'm going to very simply to remove the rest of the breast, pick this up with my knife, cut through. Again, I do not want to, I do not need the skin on these, so it can be removed. The tenderloin, which is this part right here, you can kind of see it flopping around. You want to leave attached to the breast. That is about 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces worth of meat. If I cut that off, the size of the chicken breast is a lot smaller. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to first cut it before I spin it. But I need to find that breastbone again with just the tip of my knife. Start making my cut. Make sure, notice how I'm kind of holding this rib cage upright so that it's not flopping around on me. I want to make my cut from the front all the way to the back first, down to the bone. Now again, you're going to cut off the left-hand side if you're right-handed. So you must spin the chicken at this point. Make sure you're always cutting off the left side, because if I was trying to cut off of here and I'm crossing my hands, I don't want to do so. So always cut off the left. Again, go up to the top, find where this wishbone is, and follow that all the way down to the cutting board, and that will cut off the top of the chicken breast. Then I'm going to again pull the meat back, scrape all the meat off, get it all cut off. Notice my tenderloin is attached on this one as well. Okay, so there's the two breasts. This is what the carcass should look like. You should be able to see these bones. If you don't see the bones, that means there's meat attached. We do not want that. Now for the legs, probably the easiest part to get off. Since we took and bent them backwards, the hip should be out. Very simply, all we need to do, and it doesn't matter which one you do first, again, as long as you're cutting off the left side, is to bend this backwards, kind of put our knife right above that bone, and cut through it, okay? And then do the same thing a second time. One more time on the other side. Find where that bone is, put our knife in there, and cut through. So now you have broken the entire chicken down into your 7 parts. You have the 2 wings, the 2 breasts, the 2 legs, and then our carcass. Again, our carcass is saved. We use that for our chicken stocks. We use that, the chicken stock is then used to make all of our soups and sauces. Hit the button on that for me. Like a silver button. Yeah, right there.